Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Premier League Fantasy Football and welcome to my video. In today's video I want to look at some of the best differentials to kind of help us out through our FPL season. Now we all got similar teams and we're all looking for those differentials to kind of help us out, boost in those rankings. As you can see, we've got 3 more days left before the deadline and yeah, let's get going. If you're new to the channel, please do subscribe and drop a like on the video as it helps my channel out a lot. If we get about 100 likes, that'll be incredible. Now, as for differentials, I'm not going to be looking at players that are like 0.2% owned or something like that. I'm going to look at players that are still decently highly owned, but differential enough to kind of help us out in those ranks. A lot of people has got like a selection of players that they might really want in their team, but they just don't know who to go for. So what I did was I went through each position and just looked at like all of the best options that are under like 15% owned or something like that. So here we go. Now I'm going to go position by position. So first up, let's look at the goalkeepers. So let's start with Meslier. Now he's a 5 million goalkeeper, set and forget, 4.9% owned. 11 clean sheets last time out. As you can see, the fixtures early on, it's not the best, but we're not really looking at the first 3 fixtures. We're looking at the long term. However, if you are thinking to, I don't know, like wild card early on, then Meslier might not be the best option for you. But if you want to keep a player for long term, then he could be the one to kind of go for. You know, we all looking at Sanchez, but then we think to ourselves, well, wait a minute, maybe they might not be able to keep more clean sheets. Maybe I might need to change it, and he might be the goalkeeper to go for. Same with like Martinez, you know, he's 5.5. Might be too expensive, and he's like in the middle kind of budget there. And the other player that I wanted to talk to you guys about is Backman. That is 4.5 goalkeeper. Now it looks like Watford has kept a lot of clean sheets. The defensive record is quite good in the Championship. But as you can see there, 2.9% owned, so it's very, very low owned, and it is a potential a player that can maybe return at something in these fantastic fixtures. If you look carefully, they are actually quite good as well. I know like this green and red, you know, it kind of puts people off, but and it shows green. It actually is true. You know, they're playing teams that they could actually get a clean sheet from. So another player to kind of watch out for. So if you don't want Sanchez, maybe you can go for Backman. Now, let's move on to the defenders. And I just want to let you guys know that there are a lot of defenders that could do really well. So I just picked out a few massive differentials as well that could do really well. Now, hear me out. You know, a lot of us got Trent and Shaw and Luka Dean, but we are looking for those, you know, those small little differentials that could help us out a lot. So first up is Wan-Bissaka. Got more returns than Shaw last season, 5.5, so the same price as Shaw. But as you can see there, instead of like over 50%, Wan-Bissaka is 11.1% owned. There are reasons for this, you know, Shaw, it takes set pieces and so on, but I can still see Wan-Bissaka doing really well. So yeah, if you want to go for a double up on that Manchester United defense, maybe Wan-Bissaka is the one to kind of go for. But Shaw is just being that better pick. That's why he's not getting the ownership. But I think that he will still be able to rack up those points, and he could get some bonus points as well because of the way he tackles. John Stones. Now this is a very good differential. 11.6% owned there. Manchester City has got a decent run up as well, even in a difficult fixtures there, you know, against Tottenham and Arsenal at home. So there are difficult fixtures there, but I think they're just fixture proof, and I think they can win against anyone. And Stones has signed a new contract, so he should be the main centre back player for them, with Diaz next to him. So a very good player. 4 goals to his name last season, 14 clean sheets. And, you know, we saw him what he did in the Euros as well. Played really well. So definitely a big differential to kind of help us out. So next up is Kufal. 5 million defender, that is 15.2% owned. So he's highly owned here. And I know I'm talking about some differentials, but I think he can do really well. And his ownership is quite low, considering that I think that he can do really well in the next coming game weeks. 9 assists for him, 9 clean sheets last season. The fixtures are actually really good. The only one that I'm looking at that it could be conceding is probably against Manchester United, Leicester City. And the other fixtures, there are potentials for him to keep a clean sheet. There are potentials for him to get an assist as well. So that's why I added him here. So he's a little bit on the highly owned player, but still a decent percentage there. Now, Bertrand has moved from Southampton to Leicester City. And what I'm seeing from him right now is him taking some set pieces and corners. This is very, very, very good to see. I know there's some issues with Leicester City's back line. There's a couple of big injuries. But a 5 million, 1.5% owned. 2 assists there. 8 clean sheets for Southampton last season. Anytime that we see a defender taking corners, there are big potentials for the player that is taking those set pieces to get some returns. So keep an eye on this player. Trust me on it. Trust me. So yeah, that is pretty much it. Let's move on to the midfielders. Now, these midfielders are pretty damn good and pretty damn strong. Now, I'm going to go through Son, 20% owned. Now, I did say that I'm looking at players that are under 15%, but I have to just add them into this list. And I'm going to talk to you guys about Mane as well. I've got to add him here because I think he has the potential to do really, really well. And I think he should be owned by a lot more people. If he didn't have this Manchester City fixture in game week 1, I think he would have been even more highly owned. That's why I'm adding here. And he is a differential to kind of help us out with the captaincy. So we've got to look at that as well. 17 goals last season, 11 assists, and that is a very, very good amount. If Harry Kane does move to Manchester City, I think this will give him a high chance to get more points. He's probably going to be the main penalty taker as well, while Kane is not there. Very, very good player. I'm actually quite scared of not owning him, but maybe early on I can go without him and bring him in like in game week 3. But I thought I'd mention him because he can do well against anyone. Now, Harvey Barnes is a big differential. 7 million midfielder, 10.4. A player that takes a lot of shots. He is very selfish, but we like to see that. We like to see that. 9 goals and 5 assists last season. And, he picked up a big injury. And if he didn't have that injury, he could have got more returns. Right now, he is back. He's fit and ready. At home game against Wolves, looks really good. Actually, if you look carefully, these fixtures are pretty damn decent. The Leicester City side look really fit and ready to go for this season. So definitely Harvey Barnes is on my radar for being in my FPL team. If we move on, we've got Havertz, that is 13.1% owned. A player that has got the potential to do really well in. The fixtures are not the best, but with Lukaku, moving to Chelsea, let's just say he's moved there, this might give Havertz a higher chance to actually get more returns. You need a player to kind of hold the ball to kind of help like Havertz to go behind and stuff like that. And I think that if Lukaku moves to Chelsea, probably Lukaku is going to be the main one, but right now it's Havertz. I think it's going to definitely help Havertz. And being that 8.5 million player, I think we have got the ability to actually bring a player like him into our teams. The fixtures are not that good, but later on, a lot of people's thinking about these fixtures here, but you just never know. Maybe in that first game week against Crystal Palace could be the way to go to get that extra points. 4 goals and 6 assists last season out. These things happen, you know, sometimes when a player comes back comes from a different country, it sometimes takes too long for them to adjust. He looked good like near the end of the season last time out. I think he can do really well. I got high hopes for him to do really well. Jota is 11.3% owned, 7.5 from Liverpool, 9 goals there. And as you can see, he hasn't played that much of minutes there. And I think if he is fit and ready, we're all going to be looking at Jota as a big differential to kind of help us out a lot. We know what Liverpool can do. We know their fixtures are fantastic, and a lot of people are looking to triple up on the Liverpool side. I'm actually looking at tripling up and bringing Jota in. I'm looking at Havertz and Jota, and you know, maybe like Greenwood or something. Yeah, like Greenwood's not even on this list, and he's low owned. And Greenwood is another player that I'm looking at as well. You know, maybe removing Fernandes for Greenwood. You know, that could happen to kind of fund all of these midfielders. Then we got Mahrez. That is 6.6. Like, that is low owned. 6.6. A player that has got the potential to do really well and explode with a lot of big points. 9 goals, 8 assists. And you know, one of the reasons that you are seeing Mahrez in a lot of other people's teams is because he has had a fantastic pre-season. And that is good. He's more fit and ready than any other player that is on the Manchester City side. He's probably going to be the main player that is going to maybe take penalties, you know, and take set pieces and so on. So he has the potential. And with his price tag, you can move him to Son, you can move him to Havertz, you can move him to any other player that you want. If you saved up a little bit of money, you can go up, or you know, you can go down, and there are a couple of very good players there to kind of help out with your FPL team. Now, in this list, there's a couple more midfielders, but Mane is low owned, but the problem is he's too expensive. I think if it was around 10 million, then maybe we might look to bring in Mane as well. But because he's like in that 12 million mark, it is too expensive, but he's low owned. So he is one of the biggest differentials out there. Let's move on to the strikers. Now, as for the striker positions, there isn't a lot of options out there, and it's a shame. But I think later on, once Harry Kane, you know, moves to Manchester City or stays at Tottenham, and we have Lukaku, I think there's going to be more options. But for now, there isn't many. But I picked out Jamie Vardy. Jamie Vardy is still the main player for Leicester City. 15 goals, 14 assists there. He's assisting more on penalties. 11.7% owned. Highly expensive player there. But maybe if you're looking to bring in Lukaku or Kane later on, he could be an easy way to kind of remove and bring those players in. Like I mentioned before, the fixtures are looking good for Leicester City. Wilson is a main player for Newcastle, 7.5, player that takes penalties, and 6.5% owned. That is quite low owned there. 12 goals there, 6 assists. If he can keep himself fit every single week, then he is a player that a lot of people is going to go for. In the community, he is a big troll. So sometimes when you bring him in, he does absolutely nothing. And when you do remove him out, he absolutely does a lot of stuff. So he is that kind of player though. So you got to watch out. And the other player that I got my eye on is Raul Jimenez. He's back from injury. He's been playing preseason as well. 4 goals, as you can see there, 1 assist. Yes, the return is not big, but he got injured early on. But before that, as you can see, he was an FPL asset that a lot of people wanted, and he is a player that can and has the potential to do well. The fixtures later on looks good. I'm not saying that you should start with him, but definitely look at him. 3.8% owned as well. A big differential. But yeah, guys, that is pretty much it. I'm pretty certain that I have missed out a lot of other differentials out there. But these are pretty much must-own differentials. And yeah, like I looked at these players, and that midfield looks really strong. If only we had a little bit more money, maybe like 2 million or something, then we can get players like Havertz, Jota, Mahrez and Fernandes and Salah, that would have been fantastic. There is a lot of players that a lot of people are looking at. We just got to see what happens at the start of the season. And I'm pretty certain that we'll be looking at these players. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for joining. I hope that you guys have enjoyed this. I hope that I have given you some kind of ideas with your FPL team. Yeah, that is pretty much it. And tomorrow I'll be looking at another draft that I'm looking at, like maybe 3-5-2 formation going into the new season. Thank you so much for the support, guys. Drop a like in the video as it helps my channel out a lot. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys next time. See ya.